Hello, my name is Lizarazo, and today I would like to show you a small tutorial on how to create your own Christmas game. I'm going to use one of my own games that I recently published in the Windows Store to have as an example, and with that we're going to check many of the basics of Construct 2. In the spirit of the holiday, this is the game that I want to show you, Christmas Factory. You can check it at this for free. You can download it for free. This link, bit.ly Christmas Factory. So this is kind of like a simple game, or I'm going to play to show you around. And you just like move Santa around, and you have to avoid the Christmas gifts that are bouncing all around. So every time that you let one of the gifts fall on top of you, you lose one life that you can check here on the corner. And while you can move, you can jump around, you can jump on top of the gifts to try to destroy them, and you have these little blimps that are moving around and that are throwing gifts too. So, and after that, well, you die and you may get more points the longer that you survive, and if you're able to jump on top of the gifts, then you get additional points. You can use the keyboard, and also you can use the touch screen or the mouse using these in-screen controls that you have here. You also can pause the game. You have this. You have some abilities here that are for just Windows 8, and then you can return to the menu or just start a new game. You also have a high score up here. So this is the example that we're going to use, and we're going to start from zero. So I guess that I will have to create several videos to get to this point, and at the end I'm going to share the project that I used to create this game, and you can change the background, you can change Santa and create your own character and add all the rules and mechanics that you may like. So I'm just going to start from zero and see how it goes, okay? So the first part is to download the tool that you may need. In this case, is Construct 2. You download it from the website of this company called Skira, and it's just how we'd expect, skira.com. As soon as you enter the page, you're going to have these two links, and then you can buy it if you want, or just download the free version. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cancel because I already have it, but then you have here some instructions on what to do. It's basically just follow the on-screen instructions and say next until you get it. In case that you're wondering what is the difference between the free version or the paid versions, is, well, the price here. Let me change it to US dollars. So you have the free version, that's the one that you're going to download, and then you have a personal and business edition. So just with the personal and business editions, you have more capabilities, but almost everything that you can do with those two, you can do also with the free one. And for this example, it's perfect, but you see here that there are some limitations. So currently, my project looks like this, and we're going to go through the different parts of the interface and what you have to do with each one of them. So this is Construct 2 when you open my project of Christmas Factory. But we're going to try to recreate it from zero, and especially I would like to do that to help you understand all the interface. When you open Construct 2 for the first time, you're going to have something like this, maybe a small welcome page here. Usually you can just go here to File and create new, or pick one of the projects that you were working on before. So right now I'm just going to create a new one. You're going to have this menu here, and you will have many options. The one that we're going to pick is the first one, New Empty Project. But you can basically check anything that you want here. Maybe that's something that we're going to do later. So So right now, new empty project, open. At first you're going to have this empty canvas. This is a layout, the layout 1. And it's not showing you much, so but you can start creating things there. On the left side, you're going to have always the properties of the object that you're going to pick, that it could be a project or it could be some elements that we're going to add later. And here on the right side, you can check other things, and you're going to, when we start adding objects, we're going to have a list here. Originally, we're going to work here on the layout. This is the graphic part of Construct 2. But at some point, we're going to jump to the event sheet here that you have in the other tab. This is where most of the logic of the game is going to reside. But let's start here. The first thing that we're going to do is to add a sprite. So basically, a sprite is a graphical representation of an element of the game. To do that, you just have to double click somewhere in the canvas or outside, sometimes it's useful, and you're going to have this little menu that is to insert a new object. The one that we want is this one, sprite. It's like this little alien invader here, so we just insert it. You're going to have this crosshair that is asking you like, okay, where do you want to locate it? I'm going to put it here. After that, you can try to draw your own images here, but it's much easier if you already have something created. In this case, I have some images that have to do with my own game, with a Christmas factory, so I'm going to use those. So I'm going to use this first Santa that we have here. So that's what I want. I close here, and now I have it in my project. After that, I can drag it around, put it however I want, and I also can use the corners to scale that to the shape, well, that I want. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I also could turn it around using this little gizmo here. So if you remember, I told you that on the left side we're going to have the properties. So you can see that when I select this Santa, you're going to have properties here, like the angle, where it's located, a name. So for example, I'm going to change the name to Santa. Okay, it makes sense. And now that I made that change, you can see that here on the objects list, you also have Santa, a small icon that is going to show you that that's Santa. And when you have more elements here, you can also pick them from here. So you're going to see that at some point this list is quite useful. So, okay, but what do we have here? It's just an image that we put in this canvas. What do we do with that? The first thing that we can do is to run our layout to test the game. So let's do that. You can do that with that, or you can also press F5 in your computer, and it's going to do something like this. You see? Voila, that's your Santa on the screen. So all the games that we are creating with Construct 2 are HTML5 games. So whenever you run the layout, that's going to open a browser, whatever is your default browser in your computer, and it's going to show you in one tab. It's going to show you the game that you have. So let's try it again, and you have it. Now, I can maximize that page so it's much easier to record this video, but that's obviously not how the browser is going to show. Now, if you remember here, you look, it's just a Santa, a big Santa here that is not doing much. I don't have any kind of interaction. I cannot move the Santa around. It's just kind of like an image. It's not a game. It's quite far from a game. So I'm going to start adding events. So to do that, you just have to click the Santa. So the properties are displayed here on the left side. And we're going to look for behaviors that is located here. So that right now is an empty list, so just click behaviors. You're going to have the list, the full list here. It's empty. And click the add new, the plus sign that you have here. You're going to have this list. So yeah, I know, it's like list after list. So the one that we want to do for this example, for this tutorial, is platform. So let's pick that one, platform. and close it. So imagine the classic games of Mario Bros. That's now the behaviors that you're going to have with your Santa. So let's try it now. It's going to reload, and you see that now your Santa is falling, which maybe is not what you were expecting, right? But if you remember, in Mario, you do have gravity. So you are going to fall unless there's some sort of ground, some sort of like floor or platform that you're going to stand on. So we don't have that. And that's why our Santa is kind of like, well, just falling. So let's add some ground, okay? So to do that, we're going to add another sprite. We're going to repeat the process that we had for the Santa. So now I'm going to double click somewhere, pick a sprite, and to locate it underneath the Santa. And in this particular case, I don't really need an image. I'm going to use the editor that we have here. So I'm going to pick a color that is quite visible for the video, and I'm going to use the red and color this one so it's super visible, and close it. So now you have this huge square here. I'm going to put it underneath Santa. I'm going to change the shape a little bit. You see? And then if I run it, it's still not going to work. You're going to be able to see it. You see? Now we have the platform, our red platform, but it's still not working. So what is missing? Well, right now this is just an image, but we have not given this one any behavior. So, well, first I'm going to change the name. So I have here sprite, you see, sprite. And I'm going to change it to, I don't know, ground, okay? So now you see that it changes here, and we're going to look for the behaviors that are, if you remember, are located here on the left pane. So click there, your empty list, add new, and the one that we want is solid, so it's here. So sometimes if in any of these menus you don't find what you're looking for, you can also try to use the search box here. So for example, solid. So there's just only one, so we pick that one and click. So now this one, by default, Santa is going to detect that this is a solid thing, and then gravity is still going to pull him from the top of the screen, but he's going to rest on top of this platform. So let's see if I'm right. There you go. But on top of that, so it's detecting that collision, you have gravity. But if you remember, well, in Mario you do have like some controls, like moving left, right, and jumping down, up and down. So, well, now we do have that. If you press the left arrow or the right arrow, you're going to be able to move your Santa. And if you press up, it's going to jump. Okay, so we're on the right path. I think this Santa is too big, and I'm going to move the floor a little lower. So I'm going to adjust that. And now what do we have? I don't like that the Santa, when he's moving, he's not going to be able to look from side to side. You know, like he's always looking towards the right. So what happens when I'm moving towards the left? I should be able to flip this image. So I'm going to introduce the first logic here. So to do that, I'm going to first I'm going to add the keyword to detect the keys, and then I'm going to add an event. So let's add the keyword. Double click somewhere. You have the same list that we have seen before. Scroll down a little bit, and you're going to find this part for this section for the input. So pick keyword. Double click, and you have a small message here that is telling you that the keyword was added. After that, you can go to the event sheet. You have this empty list that you can go back and forward, just in case it's here, so you don't have to freak out. And also you have here those same elements, and if you don't know for by any reason you closed it, you also can go here and open it again. And you have this little link here that says add event. So I'm going to add this one, and then I'm going to explain it to you. It's quite simple, but I'm going to let you know. So add event. Here you're going to be presented with the elements that you have in your game. So we added Santa, we added the ground, we added the keyboard. So what is this one? System. Basically the system is like where you're running your game. So if it's a computer, the system would represent a computer. If it's a phone, it would be a phone. It could be the web. Right now we're just going to concentrate on the keyboard. So just pick this one. You can double click or just press next. And you're going to have certain like predefined actions that are going to occur, predefined events that are waiting to happen. This one I want to do on key pressed. It's almost at the end, on key pressed. So we say next. And it's asking you like, hey, click to choose. So let's click. And now press a key. So I'm going to say right arrow. Why that one? Because I know that Santa is already looking towards the right, so I'm going to start with the default action. So I'm going to say OK, done. And you should have something like this. So now in construct 2, the events, the logic, has always two parts. This one is the one that we added, that is the event. This is something that is waiting to happen. So whenever the player presses the right arrow, it's going to execute the actions that I add here. So you have a left side that is an event, and the right side that is one or more actions. In this case, I'm just going to add one. So add action. So what do we want? To keep Santa looking towards the right. So that's kind of simple, but you're going to see that whenever we change going left and right, we do need this one. So let's pick Santa. And I don't know where it is here in the list, so I'm going to use the search box. And I know that it's called mirror. So set mirror. So pick that, next. And the one that I want is not mirrored, but not mirrored. So done. So you have something here that says, whenever the right arrow is pressed, I'm going to get the sprite of Santa and I'm going to put it to set not mirror. So that's going towards the right. What happens when I go towards the left? I should create something like this, and I can't repeat the entire process, but it's much easier to just copy paste. Construct 2 is made to do copy paste heavily and to make things faster. So just pick this one. You can right click here and say copy, or just use like in many other Windows options that just click, say Control C and then Control B. Okay, I'm going to do both just so you can see the entire process. So I click, right click, copy, then here right click, or just go to the as well. I just Control B. So I have that. So right now it's obviously wrong because I have like two of the same. So I'm going to fix it. In this one I don't want the right arrow. I want to modify that and press the left arrow. Okay, done. And then in this case I want it to be mirrored. So let's double click here and change it to mirror. So whenever it's going towards the right, set it not mirrored, and whenever it's going towards the left, set it mirrored. Okay, so let's try if that works. So sand is falling, that one works okay, it's jumping, that's perfect. I move towards the right, it's not doing much different. And then when I turn towards the left, hey, it's changing. So, and you see, I needed both events because at some point I'm going to be mirrored, like in this case, and then I needed to set it to not mirror, like this. So, well, there you go. It's working perfectly. I'm going to move the floor a little upwards so it appears correctly in the video. Now we're going to try to fix a couple of things that are not right at the moment. So if we go back to our project, we run the layout, it's here, and I start moving our Santa towards the right, or well, it happens also towards the left, he's just going to get out of the screen, and there's not really any chance for us to get him back. And also not just that, well, I'm kind of like doing manually. If you keep going here, you should imagine that this platform, well, it ends. So out of the screen, he's going to be able to get off this platform and he's going to fall. And then even if we try to return, let's say that I move it here, you see that here I'm getting out of the screen, but I still have the chance to go out. But at some point, if I keep pressing, he's going to fall off the platform, and then it doesn't really matter if I try to return, he's already going to be falling infinitely. So I'm going to put him here, and that's something that we can solve easily. So the first thing that I want to do is to make the camera follow Santa. So it doesn't really matter if he begins to go towards the right, our camera should always be showing Santa. He always should be inside the screen. So we can do that with an event. So just pick Santa out of your list or in your layout, and let's add another behavior. So remember, left side, behaviors, you have your list of events, click add new, and we're going to use this one, scroll to. So add it, close, let's try it. So you can see that now it's showing us more, even the end of the platform. And if I go towards the other side, well, it's just going to show me there everything that it's inside. So also, it turns out that I'm going to explain this. You see this dotted line here and here. That's the space that the camera is going to be showing. And it's going to follow us as long as Santa is in this big square here. So those are values that we can change, and I'm actually going to do it right now. So to do that, we can go here to the layout. You can pick it here on the right side, and you can see the values that we have here. So just to follow the same example that I had with Christmas factory, I'm going to even copy those values. I have the other project here open, and I can swap in between them. So I'm going here to the layout, and I'm going to copy this value. So you see 4,800. So it could be anything, but I just want to have the same one. Now if we zoom out a little bit, you're going to see that now our layout is much bigger. Okay, so it's going to give us a chance to do that, and I'm going to just for the fun of it, I'm going to leave it like that for a second. So now if I want to keep going towards the right, then we have a lot of space. I can drag our platform, and then if I run it, should be able to keep going a little while, and then we get to the end, and then we fall with Santa. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that. The other thing that we can do is to ensure that Santa is never going to leave this white space that we have here, this white frame that we have here. So even if he falls out of the platform, he's not going to do this. He's just going to remain here. So that's kind of useful. And I'm going to do that with another behavior. So let's pick Santa, behaviors, add new, and this one is bound to layout. So add it and close, and let's try it. So we go here, we keep going, we fall, but there's the border that we were looking for. Here I cannot really jump because the jumping is made on top of the platform, so it's not detecting any platform underneath. So, well, that's not right. Okay? But at least we are not losing Santa, and we are able to see him at all times inside the screen. So right now Santa has, well, let me show you, 3 behaviors: platform, scroll to, bound to layout, and you can see the properties of each one of them in the properties pane that is here, and you can see that now it's growing. Santa has more things, so we also have more things. Now I want to make it look a little better. you can see that Santa has a lot of white elements. So here, the little hat and the belt and everything else, like there are many things that are white, and because we have a white background, it doesn't look so right. So I'm going to use again this example of Christmas factory that you have it here, and I'm going to add that image in the background. Okay, so to do that, we're going to check something that is called layouts. So let me move this here, and let's see what is the layout. Well, the layout, we have it here, but then the layers, that's my mistake, the layers. So this is 2D, and to make things that are like one on top of the other, like to add some sort of like depth perception, you need to add layers. So with a layer, you can put things one on top of the other. Imagine like layers of onions, or like having certain like paper sheets one on top of the other. So you can use layers here to do that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is double click. In this case, I'm not going to add a sprite, I'm going to add a tiled background. And you can click anywhere to add it. So, okay, and you can open here, and I already have a background that I created. So, well, actually I took it from a company in Canada that works with Microsoft. So, it's here, I add it, it's quite big. And right now you can stretch this, but you're going to have an issue, you're going to have a problem. That is, the background is really covering everything that we have, including Santa. So that's not what we want. So we can click here on the layout and go here to the layers. Right now we just have one layer. That's where all the elements are located, layer 0. So I can create another one, a layer. I'm going to rename this one, I'm going to call it background, and I'm going to say that the tile background that we have here is not on layer 0, but is on the background. Now we still have an issue, and is that the background is on top of layer 0. So even if we move the background here, it's going to cover our Santa. But to do that, to change it, it's kind of simple. You just like lower it, drag and drop, and you see that it's here. Now we have another issue. Now the layer 0 is covering the background. So what happened there? It turns out that the layer 0 has a white color and is not transparent. So the only thing that you have to do is pick it and change here transparency to yes. And there you go. And now if we move Santa, he's going to be on front of the layout of the background that we had there. So I'm going to move this and I'm going to adjust it to have it how I want it. Let's do this. I'm going to keep it stretching. So we have a long area there. So well, just to make it work correctly, I'm going to move some things around here. I'm actually going to, yeah, that works. I can keep stretching our platform here, so Santa is able to move around all this long level. So he will have a lot of space to move around. And now if I play this, if I run our layout, we're going to have this. Well, it still doesn't look so great, but well, doesn't really matter so much now. So it looks a little better, right? So the colors kind of work, so it's working correctly. So I moved a couple of things around to make everything look better, stretching some of the images and locating, well, the floor here. And now if we play our game, we're going to have something like this that adjusts the screen much better. And well, all in all, I think it looks better than what it did before. And we have a jumping Santa, so that's good. Now, right now, it's looking much better, but still there's not exactly much to do. Santa just jumps around, and we don't have anything to do with him. So we're going to follow again Christmas factory example, and I'm going to make many gifts to fall from the sky, and they are going to start bouncing. So we have first to add the gifts themselves, and then to add some behaviors related to those. First, let's add the GIF itself. So we just double click, like we did before, add a sprite, click some more. So I'm going to put him like here. And I'm going to load an image that we have here, a gift. And we have our gift here, okay? Now that we have our gift, we need the gift to move on its own. And there's one behavior that is quite useful for that. So let's add it. So behaviors, add new, bullet. Now, this behavior, how it comes by default, is not going to be really what we want. So let me show you what it is. It's just moving towards the side. It's kind of like, well, what you would expect from a bullet. It just has this direction and it's just moving towards that direction. What we really want is to have gravity and to make our gift to bounce. Unfortunately, we can modify the behavior here and to have that. So the first thing that I want to do is to change on the properties of the gift the speed. I think that's too much right now, so I'm going to put just 100. The second thing that I want to do is to change gravity. So right now we don't have any gravity, so we want that. Let me say gravity, I don't know, 300. It's a value. You can try different values to see which one is the one that adjusts to your game. And the last thing that I want is to change this property, bounce of solids. So if you remember, our floor, our ground, is a solid. So without any changes on the gift behavior, it's going to fall and it's just going to go through. So that's not what we want. What I want is to change this to yes. Now, this one we're also going to change, but I'm going to show you how it works up to this moment. You see? So you have a little bit of a bouncing behavior, and not just that, it's already kind of like doing small bouncing here, like parables, which actually looks kind of good. So you can leave it like that. You can see that your gift is kind of like bouncing, and or you can just changing the position, or you just can change the set angle to change it to no. Then you're going to have something like this. So your gift is always kind of like bouncing without changing the rotation, the orientation. So it's really up to you. So right now I'm just going to leave it like that and make it work. So that's good. But maybe for this game, one gift is not enough. It would be good to duplicate this one, and we could double click and add another sprite and keep doing it, but it takes some time. So Construct 2 gives you the chance to duplicate things and to clone them. So whenever you have a new clone, a new instance of this gift, you're going to have all the behaviors that you have here. So that's good, and then you just have to change one of them and it's going to affect all of them. So you just have to click on the gift, press the Control key, and then drag and drop. And then you are going to be able to create copies. So I just created a few. Let's see how that looks like. And you see that we have different gifts bouncing up and down, which is cool. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but all of them have kind of like a different movement. So what happens there? Well, what happens is that the height that I'm putting them here affects how much they're going to bounce back. So the ones that are up higher, they're going to bounce back higher. This one, for example, you see that it is bouncing back. The ones that are starting in a lower position, they don't have as much strength to bounce back. So they are not going to do it. And also this one, for example, is basically just staying in the same position, not changing much. Okay, so you can create as many gifts as you want, and if you can see in my original game, I kind of like created tons of gifts all around with different heights, and that's kind of cool. Now there's going to be a problem with some of the gifts, and is that they are going to start bouncing, and at some point they're going to get out of the screen, so they are lost. Whenever they get off the screen after a little while, they're going to be lost, and they are going to just continue bouncing until they get off the platform, and then we don't really have much of a way to track them. So how do we solve that? We can add another behavior. So just pick here the gift, or pick one of the gifts here, and click behaviors, add new, and this one is going to be called wrap. So this is kind of like similar to the behavior that you would have, let's say, with Pac-Man, that when it goes out of the screen from one side, is going to reappear in the other side of the screen. So that's kind of cool, because then these gifts are going to bounce, and then they're going to return from the other side. So you're never going to lose them. Just to make sure, I'm going to make the platform a little bigger on both sides, and then you have enough space for them to bounce back. Okay. So, but right now, we have a jumping Santa, we have some bouncing gifts, but we don't have anything like lives. We are not losing, we are just moving around. So I'm going to add a little bit more of things in the event sheet. So the first thing that I'm going to add is the concept of lives, okay? And then we're going to detect collision. Whenever Santa collides with the gifts, we're going to do something. So let's go back here to the event sheet. So first I'm going to add a variable to add our lives. So you right click, not left like you were expecting, but right click to have this menu, and then you look for add global variable, this one with the green icon. I'm going to call it lives, and I'm going to give Santa 3 lives. So you see that you have this here. You can name it however you want, but in this case it kind of makes sense. I'm just going to leave it like that. And now what I'm going to do is to detect the collision, to detect when Santa is being hit by one of the gifts, and I'm going to decrease the number of lives. So we add an event here. I'm going to say, I'm going to pick the gift, and I'm going to use the search box to look for collision. So on collision with another object, that's the one that I want. Then it's asking me like, hey, which object? I click and pick Santa. So whenever one of the gifts touches Santa, we're going to do something. So add action. Now we're going to figure out what is that something. So we pick system, first time that we use it. So system, double click, and we have a section here just for global variables. So I'm going to use subtract from. So I'm going to pick that. We just have one that is lives, and I'm going to subtract 1. So whenever Santa touches one of the gifts, we're going to decrease the lives in 1. Okay, so I can run it right now, but we're not going to actually see much because this variable is not represented here. This, what we have in the layout, is what it's visible to us as players. So I'm going to add a small text that is going to show us the number of lives. So I'm going to double click, say text, put it here in the middle. I'm going to call it lives label, And just to make it simpler, I'm going to change the text here on the properties to say lives, I don't know, 3. Okay, maybe this is not the best color, so I'm going to change it for red so it's super visible in the video. You have it here. And I'm going to go back to the event sheet and I'm going to add another event. So add event. System again is quite useful. And I'm going to use this one, every tick. So every tick is almost like, well, you have it here, almost always. It's the closest that you are going to have to always. It's not exactly always, but almost. So I'm going to say done. So what do I want to do every tick? I want to change this value, what it's in this lives label, and put what we have here in lives. So if I have 3, it's going to show 3. If I have 2, it's going to show 2. So let's add an action. I'm going to pick lives label, scroll down, and look for set text. Next. So what I wanted to say is like lives space, then ampersand lives. So this is actually the variable, the one that we added here, that's the one. So this one is saying like I'm going to put the, well, you can say like you have this many lives, or you can put any message here, but the important part is this, ampersand lives. So that's going to give us the value that we have here, so done. So now let's run it. So we added 2 events and they should work like you see the lives here. Well, we didn't. Okay, let me run it again so I do it almost from the very beginning. So 2, 1, 0. So you see that it's kind of like moving there. -2. So, but we are going to see that this is kind of like wrong. Well, they are coming back. So -3, -4, -5. So every time is decreasing, which is what we wanted. Okay, so now obviously Santa shouldn't have like -8 lives. We should do something when the lives come down to 0. Okay, so we have to add an event for that. So add event, system, and we can compare variables. So that's what I want to do. The variable is lives, and I'm going to say when is less than, well, less or equal than 0. I'm going to say done. And what I want to do is to pause the game, to freeze the game. That is going to be kind of like a game over, right? And I'm actually going to show in the screen game over. So add action, system. I'm going to look for timescale. You have a nice explanation here of how timescale works. So 0 is a pause, so I'm going to put that one. And then I'm going to display a game over text. So I'm going to create that text. So again, double click, text. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to say game over. But well, it's kind of small and it's not a good color with that background that we have. So I'm going to change the color again to red. I guess that you can put whatever color you want, but I'm assuming that this one is going to be quite visible. And I'm going to make it much bigger, 26, maybe even bigger than that. I'm actually going to use the preferred font for apps in the Windows Store, Sego. So I'm going to put it here. Also, you can see that if I run it right now, game over is already visible. It's not what I want. You don't start with game over. But it's because the initial visibility is visible. So I'm going to just say invisible. If I run it at the very beginning, the game over label is not going to be appearing here. And we're going to be able to decide when it's going to be visible. So I'm going to change this, game over. I'm going to rename a couple of things that we haven't renamed. So background sprite. This one is gift, and it doesn't matter how many times you rename that, all the events are going to adjust to that. And I'm going to change the last event that we were working on, and I'm going to add another action. This is the first time that we're going to have two actions, not just one. And I'm going to say the game over, I wanted to set it to visible, so set visible, visible. So now when the lives come down to 0, the game over is going to appear, and the scale is going to, the time scale is going to go to 0, so that's going to pause the game. So let's try that. So I'm going to look for that 0, 0, pop, and that's it. Now I'm not able to move. Well, I'm actually able to mirror this, but the gravity and everything else is not working. So that kind of works. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but the lives should be appearing all the time there where on screen. But if I keep going towards the right, the lives disappear. So why is that? That's kind of simple, and it has to do again with the layers. Right now we have two layers, one for the background, just to differentiate this, and one for the game that I'm actually going to rename to game. But something like this, like the lives, that should be in its own layer. That's the UI, the user interface, and that should always appear on screen. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to rename it as UI, and the game over and the lives, I'm going to move them to that. So I just go to the properties, UI, game over, UI. But this is still not complete. So we just click on the UI, and you see this property here that it says parallax. That kind of has to do with if I move my camera, if that layer is going to move with the camera or not. So right now it's not saying much, so I'm going to change it to 0, 0. So now if I try this and I start moving towards the right, the lives, the label is still moving with me. So I'm never missing that. And also the game over. So I can see that the lives came down to 0 and there is a game over. So that worked perfect. Okay. Now, we do have lives, but we don't have any score. And it would be kind of cool to have some sort of score. So I'm going to add that, and I'm going to fix the entire thing of the game over. That is not working completely because we get stuck there. If you're at this point, your game is going to be kind of stuck at that moment when you get to the game over, and you don't have really much options to restart your game. So I'm just going to go back to the event sheet, and I'm going to add another variable, just how we did with lives. So I'm going to right click, add global variable, score, starts at 0, which is good. And I'm just going to create another label here that I'm going to put on the UI layer and to show, well, basically the score that we have. So I'm going to double click, text. I'm going to say, well, this is going to be red too. It's going to be called score 0 originally, and I'm going to call it a score label. So it's visible now. It's in the UI, so it's perfect. It's going to move with Sane. And now we have to add another action to this event, to number 4. That, if you remember, we were updating the value of the lives label. So now we're going also to update the value of the score label. So score label is here. Again, scroll down to set text. I'm going to say score ampersand score. Done. Okay. So But we're showing with this event, with this action in the event, we're showing the value of the score in the label, but we're never changing the value. So we should change the value of a score somehow, somewhere. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, like, this is a game of surviving, okay? Santa has to avoid the falling gifts, and the longer that he survives, the more, well, the highest score that he should get. So I'm going to add an event here with system, and instead of every tick, I'm going to say every X seconds. So I'm going to add some value every second, so 1, but you can put here 2, 10, whatever. So I'm going to be generous, and I'm going to have it at 1. And I'm going to add an action, again, system, and instead of subtracting like we were doing with the lives, I'm going to add 2. So add 2. Instead of adding 2 lives, I'm going to select from this list score, and maybe I'm going to add 2, just to make it interesting. 2. So let's run this. So you see that now the score is updating. So the longer that your lives are more than 0, the higher score that you're getting. So of course, if I begin to lose lives, it's going to get to game over, it's going to get stuck at 48 or whatever score you made, and the lives are there. So, well, it's working okay. But now we still have the problem with the game over. So I'm going to add another plugin here, another object. In this case, I'm going to do it with, well, we already have the keyword, so let's use that. So remember the first 2 events that we added? We can use that, some of those, or a combination of that, to restart the game. So I'm going to pick one of these, I'm going to copy with Ctrl+C, I'm going to copy it down here, Ctrl+B, and I don't want obviously the left arrow. What I want is maybe R. I'm going to use the R letter to restart the game. Okay, so I'm going to double click to modify the event. I'm going to change the left arrow to R. See it here, okay? And instead of this, I can pick, because it does not have anything to do with this. I'm going to delete it. Add action, system, and you have something here that is called restart layout. So I'm going to restart layout. That's basically like restarting the game. Right now we just have a layout, so if we restart this, it's kind of like restarting the game. So I'm going to run this. I'm going to try to lose. There you go. And then I press R, and it restarted the layout. But you see that there is no movement. So I'm missing something, right? What I'm missing is that when the lives came down to 0, I stopped the game. I made it pause. So when I restart this, I should unpause it. So I'm going to copy. I can copy pieces of actions. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to add it here. I'm going to move it. And instead of 0, I'm going to go to normal speed. That's 1. So I'm going to change it to 1. And now let's try it. I hope that it works. So I lose lives. Come on, I lose lives. I press the letter R, and it's not taking my change for some reason. So basically I made a mistake, or I kind of like omitted one important step. If you remember, when I come down to lives equals 0, I'm setting the pause, the time scale to 0, right? So even if I restart the layout, the variables are going to remain the same. So the score is the same, the lives are the same. So if at some point I reached 0, even if I restart the layout, the value of lives is 0. So it's going to keep doing this. So the other thing that I have to do to make this work is to set the timescale to 0 and add another action that is going to say reset global variables. And I'm going to put this one here. So reset the global variables, timescale to 1, restart the layout. So let's try it now. So lives until I get to game over. I restart. Well, you see, -1. Restart, and now it works. Okay. Okay. So there you go. This is obviously the basics of what you would need to create your own Christmas game. There are several other things that you could add, and I'm going to work on other videos to add those things, but I think at this point you have a nice base. You do have something that you can understand on how to add new elements, how to create some of the logic of the game that you can see here, and how to keep adding things here. I would recommend, well, to wait for the next videos, also to check some of my other videos that I'm going to give you in a second. I go through more elements there, and I constantly create videos about my own games, about tutorials and other things that you may be interested into. So wait for the second video. This one I know that has been quite long, but we cover a lot of elements, and you have a game that is quite similar already to my own. The only things that I'm missing is have to do with the blimps that we have here, some of the logic of the game, and many of the Windows saved elements that I wanted to add to publish my game in the Windows Store. So for the time that we had, I think it's a great improvement. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and let me know your comments about it. So this is the link to some of my other videos. If you follow it, I'm going to give it another second. I'm going to show you. You are going to be able to see like 5 different videos, each one of like around 5 minutes, that cover like the basics of creating a game on Construct 2. So many of the things that I'm covering there are the same ones that we cover here, but with another game. So there is a falling game I'm going to show you in a second, and you may like it better. I don't know. So let's try it. I'm going to show you. So here you have this blog post, and you do have several videos. So my first game with Construct 2, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have this game. Let me see. Well, I'm going to show you part 3 over here, and this one is 7 minutes and 15.
Hello, my name is Lizarazo. These 2 elements that are the platform and the player, and we added some behaviors to each one of them. So at this point,
you can see my voice, everything else. So this one is kind of like a simple game. It's a ball falling in different platforms, so I'm also using the platform behavior. And well, if you don't want to go through the 1-hour video that we're having here, then you can go through these smaller ones, and each one of them, well, you can tell that I'm trying to give you a little bit of an advance of what covers each video. So it could be easier on you, and well, I don't know, you may like that game better. So many of the same things here are covered, so you can do that. Again, you can find my contact information here, the link for my videos and my games, and just let me know what you think of the video and the different games. Thank you.